Next Legacy.
Are you searching for the perfect gift? Or do you just need a unique statement piece for yourself? Well, either way, Danaya Azure will help you out. What you need is the S4S jewelry collection by Danaya Azure Radio. S4S stands for strictly for a stage. Stand out at your next photo or video shoot. Snag that magazine cover. Go from being a part-time extra to an actor or actress who stays booked. Or just be the talk of the town at every event. Danaya Design for You jewelry is handcrafted and Chicago made for men, women, and children. To start your collection, simply go to www.danayaazure.com. That's www.danayaazure.com. That's www.danayaazure.com.
Next Legacy.
Do you love American music? Have you ever heard of The Turkey Fought Back, Twerking with a Twang, or A Song About Us? Danaya Azure Radio is now sponsored by UncleRhino.com. You can check out all of these incredible international hits and grab some phenomenal merch at www.UncleRhino.com. They have gear for the entire family. T-shirts, hoodies, koozies, travel mugs, mouse pads, and so much more. That's www.UncleRhino.com. Tell them Danaya Azure sent you.
Next Legacy.
Y'all go and follow Crystal's.Shack because she knows how to be incredibly helpful when it comes to speakers and how to make situations better, right?
Yes.
So I started out here at Illinois Media School in May of 2018. I'm telling you now, these 8 months are going to fly by. People say that all the time. They're like, "Oh, what do you mean?" It really, really does, because you're here. So because you have to get your main hours, but when you're here and you're doing your radio show, you're here and you're doing other shows, you're doing guest speakers, all of that, you're here all the time. So you're like, "Wait, what's home?" Because you're here all the time, making sure that you get work done. Because you can't just come here and just do your classes and go home. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. Because you want to make sure that you're building relationships beyond this space. So you want to make sure that you're networking with your teachers and the students around you, because you never know who you're talking to. The funny part about when I got here was that I originally I started doing work here with Mikey Everything, who's another graduate, and I was producing his show. So Carly came to me and she was like, "When are you going to be a part of this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure if I have the time to do it." But then after talking to friends and really thinking about it, I got into it. Well, actually, what happened was my mom got really sick, and she developed colon cancer. And I was focusing so much on taking her to the hospital, the doctors, and all of that. She said, "You know what? You have to go to the school." I said, "I'm not sure if I'm going to have time because I'm with you so much." And she said, "You have to focus on something other than me." And that's exactly what I did. I put my everything into this school. I had my radio show. I was producing 3 other shows. And then, of course, the schoolwork. And then for the schoolwork, and for every single project, it was me and Brianna, who is now one of the workers here. We were the editors. So we were here all of the time. So let me fall back into how I even got into media. I grew up as a belly dancer. I did that from age 6 to about, I want to say, 24, on and off. As well as I was in the Chicago Children's Choir, and I was an actress on a network, on a show that was on Evanston Television. But I started out, when it came to editing, we had a show. It was a centennial celebration. I remember I was 9 years old, and I was in the editing room, and I was like, "Ooh, that's fun." This is when they had like, the little crazy graphics, like nothing like what we have now. But it was just like the little, just like sparkle here, sparkle there. I was like, I need to learn how to do that, and so I focused on it back then. But then I worked with a lot of friends that were artists, and I noticed their videos shoots weren't coming out like the way that they wanted. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a way to learn how to do this editing thing, so that I don't have to sit up here and waste my money on someone that doesn't care about my project. And that's what you guys are learning how to do now, is take control of your projects. That way you can kind of escape the middleman, right? So when it came to editing, I started with that. I started playing around with some stuff, started, doing little video clips here, video clips there. And when you're doing video, you have to play with the audio as well. So I started just mixing stuff and putting it together. And then I realized I was getting really good at it. And people always wonder, well, how did I get into the whole jewelry piece? So in 2008, my mom just made a necklace for my uncle. And when she made that piece, I was like, wait, you make jewelry? When did that happen? And she was like, remember what I made when I wore when you were little? I made all of it. So I started creating those pieces. And then it got to the point where everybody's like, oh my goodness, that's dope. You should do this. You should get a website. I'm like, awesome. I should get a website. The person wanted to charge me $300. I'm like, ooh, I just started. There was no way I was paid for that. So I learned how to create my own, which led me to creating other people's websites, which led me to the biggest thing. The shirt that I have on is from HFL Magazine. HFL Magazine is a Black-owned company based out of Jacksonville, Florida. The fact that I know how to promote myself and I promote other people is how I got to this point. And the third issue of HFL Magazine, I had my jewelry featured. And there was a designer by the name of Polo the Fur King who was featured on the cover. Now, mind you, the cover feature was really small, but the larger piece was inside. But that didn't matter to me. I had that magazine as every single profile picture that I had, to the point people were like, wait, where is your photo? I was like, what do you mean? My jewelry's in this magazine. This is what's important right now. And so after that, I got my first ad, and then I got a feature. And now since 2015, I've been the lead marketing consultant of HFL Magazine.
Wow.
We just reached our 10-year anniversary. That's the issue that I have right now.
Congratulations. Oh my gosh.
Does anyone recognize the person on the front cover? If not, you need to do some research. This is Rick Party. He has voice, when I say everything, literally everything. He used to be with WGCI here. He's done work in Miami. He is the current voice of Sports Center.
He used to be on the radio.
Yeah?
6 o'clock.
He was at GCI years ago. But you've heard him on Sports Center. He's done stuff for BET. He was the voice of BET, the BET Awards. Like, he's been the voice of literally everything. And the way that I even, learned about him even more was when I was here. Because Drew Sean, who was one of the teachers here, he's the one that taught us about him, because Rick does voiceovers for everyone. So it was so crazy because I hit him up, and I was like, well, let me see if he's available. And he was totally down, so down to earth. The biggest thing when it comes to this industry is your network. The biggest thing when it comes to to this industry is your network, especially in Chicago. You are going to get your opportunities off of relationships. You do not want to burn bridges unless you absolutely have to, because you never know who you're talking to. And people say that all the time, like, oh, what do you mean you never know who you're talking to? You really never know who you're talking to. Perfect example. I went to school with Chris.
Yeah.
It was like, what, grammar school.
Yeah.
He had no idea I'd be here today.
Nope.
You know, I think a lot of people forget when it comes to the city, they get so focused on just working on what they're doing and, you know, and how they're going to grow, but they forget it takes a team in order to build and grow. Perfect example, I'm working with this company called Backus Corporation. And we had a lot of people that worked on the Donda project. That's dropping August 15th.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm working hand in hand with Lily Fusat.
Wow.
Who's one of the main builders of Kanye. Yes. And it's been a blessing, but you get to see the hard work and sacrifice that really goes into this. There's a lot of work that goes into being great and growing, but it takes a team. You cannot, I'm going to repeat, you absolutely cannot do it by yourself. There's just no way. That's why whenever they have the team projects, participate in those. Because the person that you thought was just kind of, you know, doing too much is the person that's going to succeed and going to thrive. And you might be going to that person for an interview later. Mm-hmm. Or you might need that person to get into an event. Or to get connected to that job that you wanted. So what's the point in competing when you have to grow together?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we have this big thing when it comes to the industry that we're so used to going against one another that we don't grow together. And the question is, what can we do to change that? But the answer is network and build. That's what you're here for. Like, that's really what you're here for. 8 months is nothing when you can build a lifetime relationship. I'm going to say that again. 8 months is nothing when you can build a lifetime of relationships. And it's very possible. But you have to make sure that you're paying attention. You have to make sure that you're doing your work. Because every single person that's in this building is in the industry currently and can help. But if you don't do the work, they're not going to. They're not even going to think about it. Perfect example. I just saw Stone Pony. You know what I'm saying? And so what was dope when I was here, he gave me like the project manager of majority of the projects that they worked on.
How many people are working with these on right now?
Stone Pony is amazing. And it was so dope for me because I'm like, I grew up listening to him. So to see that he saw so much in me when I was here, knowing how long he's been in the industry, meant a lot. Your teachers and the staff here really do care about you. And they really do want you to succeed. They're not just saying that. They actually do care. And they will support you afterwards. I think a lot of people are just are so used to just saying, oh, well, they're just saying that. No, that's not the case here. There really is a loving, caring environment. That's why we have alumni that work here or that come back to support, because we know what the school can do. We know what the school can be. The projects, you never know what's going to happen with the projects that you make. We did a project here, it was just a simple commercial for Popcorn. And that commercial went on to win an award for our videographer. That commercial was the commercial that the company used for like a year. We didn't know all of that. We were just doing a project for school. there are so many PSAs that you guys have, especially with what's going on in Chicago. You have an opportunity to be able to tell our story. Because the news isn't telling it, right? Let's be clear. The mainstream media is not going to tell our story, right? That is up to you. Every opportunity that you have to tell our story, do it. Because they will not tell it right. It's not their intention to do so. So that means when your friends have the radio shows, go on and support. Make sure you're sharing it. Make sure you're commenting on it. Make sure you're tweeting it. Make sure you're adding them on Instagram. All of that matters. When your friends have their show, make sure if you're that's the easiest way to get hours. Go sit in on a friend's show because everyone has to do some type of show. You either gotta have a show or be a part of one. That's 5 hours easy. Every single thing that you have in order to make up hours or gain more hours, do it. It's worth it. Because it's only going to make you better. And then that way, you don't just become another face. Because the last thing you ever want to be in anywhere that you go is just another face. You want to be the person that makes that impact, that makes that difference, that makes people want to say, oh, wait, who is that? What do they do? Let me go look them up. There are so many things we're talking about, the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done to you. That's all it's about, is having respect for one another and showing love and giving back. That's the only way that you're going to grow, for sure.
And in the vein of that, you talked about being on Stone's show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then share with us like how that experience helped you, right, to further your own craft. And then what did your first month, 2-3 months out of school look like for you? Like how long after you graduated did you kind of like tell a little bit about your story once you left school?
So once I left school,
and then how did Stone influence was the part of that process?
So it was interesting. So I was actually never part of D Stone's show specifically. I was in D Stone's classes. I wasn't able to be part of D Stone's show because I had so much going on outside of school. Because again, I'm here and working on all these different projects. There was no way that I could be on D Stone's show. His show was awesome, but his show on Saturdays was amazing. I got to see. I think I might have gone to a couple, but actually working on it, I didn't get a chance to do that. But outside of school, let's see. Right outside of school, I started my company, Danaya Azure production, and that was when I was doing social media, so super heavy, and so I started working with different companies and helping them build their social media. That's what I did right out of school.
Okay, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So expand on that. So you started a production company.
Mm-hmm.
You were working on company social media.
Mm-hmm.
How was that networking? Was it networking with you while you were in school?
It was, yeah.
What type of
Yep.
on the ground work did you do outside school to make that come to fruition when you got ready?
I was at the career office all the time. All the time. I was at the career office so much. They were just like, I was like, what? I'm like, I'm making sure that I have something when I leave here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at the career office all the time. Don and Kenny knew me. They were calling me all the time. All of that. I made sure to build those relationships when I was here. And Kenny was the one that connected me with a lot of the clients that I had at the time, for sure. But it was interesting because right after school, for me, I was traveling because I was working in Vegas for Life After Sports. I was working with the organization was doing fashion shows as well. So I was back and forth. I was very rarely here in Chicago in 2019, right after I graduated. But the biggest thing was all of that came from supporting someone. Going to an event, like the very first time I had my jewelry featured in the movie was because I went to go support a friend who was a director. And I went to his show. And I talked to the director of the movie. And because she had just won an award. And I was like, well, let me just say hi and see what happens. And 2 years later, she needed someone to have jewelry in her production. And I was the first person she called. And it went from me styling one person to styling the entire cast and having my jewelry featured from start to finish on a movie that's called Call Center, and it's on Quelly TV right now as we speak.
Congratulations.
And so you mentioned styling. So what do you do at your production? Like kind of go into push that out a little bit. So we can understand like what type of skills were you able to develop here, and what between career services and your own kind of grind, and what do you offer now in your business?
The biggest thing that I was able to do here was audio, because now I do radio. But our station is 24/7, 365. That means it's pre-recorded. So I have some of the shows that I've done here, and then a lot of the shows that we did on previous years that are featured on the station. But you can't just send it over plain, right? You have to go in, you got to add music, you got to add your intro, you got to have commercials, all of that. I create every single, for my show specifically, I create, every commercial you hear with my voice, I created it. Every commercial you hear with, every show that you hear for our new show, Hungry and Humble Sports Talk, I produce that show. I produce my shows. I do all of my own interviews. I cut, let's see, I can still cut I cut everything up. So like, if I wouldn't have come here, I wouldn't know how to do that properly. Because you have to check your levels. You got to make sure everything is on point. You have to make sure that everything is crisp and clear. You have to make sure that that it's not too loud, right? You got to stay within that green and yellow, but you never want to hit that red. Remember that?
Yeah.
It's really important because that's how you make sure that your audio is clear. And I'm proud to say that our station has been up for almost 5 months, and we have hit over 500,000 downloads, and my show specifically gets 500,000 listeners per week.
Wow.
And our station gets about maybe 800,000 listeners a week.
Oh, that's a blessing.
So,
Congrats.
you know what I'm saying? And this is the Black-owned station. So I'm part of the owners of that. So I'm Next Legacy. I'm gonna give you the actually, where's your phone? If you have your phones out, I can have you guys download the app and check it out.
Yeah, so that's one aspect is that interns, right?
Mhm.
Interns for Next Legacy. So
Correct.
so then, right? Because she mentioned editing, audio, how to get like your skills that are coming up in your classes now. So if you struggling a little bit, workshop it. Get some extra tutoring from your professors and instructors. Like she's in the industry, she's doing it, and so these skills she mentioned that she's like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'm struggling. Now it's time to work on it. Because you don't want to be at the end and you don't know how to do what needs to be done. Right.
So you type in so if you go to your iOS or Android Google Play, type in NEXX LEGACY. Next Legacy. Yep, that's it. And that's the station that I'm with currently. I actually just I'm actually currently the Chief Operating Officer at Next Legacy, so that just happened.
Congratulations. Wow. That's amazing.
That means she can make decisions. I have a lot of questions. Format for the station.
I'm sorry?
What was the format for that station?
So the station is, it's 24/7 music and interviews. So we have interviews at 7 a.m., 11 a.m., and 7 p.m., and then we have music and commercials in between the rest of the time. And then also, on my show, we've implemented a piece called Next Legacy Honors, where we're honoring different artists. Like today, we're honoring Jill Scott. So you have 2 hours of Jill Scott music tonight at 9 p.m. The first run was at 9 a.m. So each week, I'm gonna have on my show different artists that I honor with 2 hours of music. Yes.
Are you looking for DJs?
We've talked about that, definitely. So let's talk afterwards, for sure. And we talked about, how to collaborate with IMS. Actually, that was the original reason I reached out to IMS, was talking about how to collaborate with what we're doing. Because with having the Black-owned station, you want to be able to give opportunities to as many people as possible. So. Yeah, I think what people forget when it comes to not just school, but just entertainment period, is that the 15 minutes of fame only happens when people forget who they are. But if you go into it and you have a goal and you have a purpose and you want to go beyond just the pretty lights and you're ready to put the work in, you can turn that 15 minutes of fame into a lifetime. Any other questions?
When you first started here, did you see yourself in the position that you are in now? Or did you not think that you'll be interested in some of the things that you do?
That's very interesting. So when it came to the radio piece, I did not know that I'd be part owner of a radio station. That was not in the plan. That literally happened last year, where the owner of the station was like, you know what, I'm done dealing with internet, with Blog Talk. We need to take our own content and create our own thing. And I was like, okay, sure. We're going to take our 45 million listeners and just leave? We're doing that? Are we sure we want to do that? We're taking all of our 14 years experience, all of that, and just going. And going to start from scratch. All right. And so I was very surprised when we hit 200,000 in the first 3 days.
Wow.
I was like, 200,000 downloads in the first 3 days. I said, excuse me, what? And it's just grown from there. But like I said, the biggest thing is that we own this. We control this. And we're waiting on the sponsors and whatnot. But the sponsors are going off of what we do. They're not telling us to change anything. And that's huge. Because most people have to worry about, I can't say this, I can't do that. They want to work with us because of who we are and what we've built. And that's a huge testament to what we're doing. But I think the biggest thing when it comes to the magazine, I didn't know. I knew when I got here, but I didn't know what the extent would be, right? So like the fact that I'm sitting here with a company that's been around for 10 years, and we've been able to put on so many people. Shout out to Kevin Forrest, that's the owner of the magazine. He's been doing this thing for a very long time. He was a music producer before this, and he has literally changed people's lives. He's launched careers by featuring them, and that's huge. That's so huge. And that's why I say you have to focus on yourself. You have to believe in what you're doing, but you have to collaborate with other people. Because if you don't collaborate, then you're going to be stressed all the way out, trying to figure everything out. And there's no reason for that, especially when you're here. Because there are so many people that you can work with that are willing to help you. There are so many workshops you can go to. And remember, the workshops get you hours. Y'all need to get the hours. So go to the workshops. Because the easy way to get hours and the way to get knowledge. Speaking of, did y'all sign in? Because these count as hours as well. Trust me, I'm huge on getting hours. I think my last count was like 745 when I left.
Can somebody sign me in?
Yeah.
So kind of piggybacking off that, so I know how many of y'all want to own a business or work for each other? Does anybody here know how to become a part owner of a radio station?
No.
Questions?
Right.
But how do you become part owner of a radio station?
I've been with the company for 14 years. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I've been with the company for 10 years. And so it was just a matter of we had decided that we were just done getting boss out of our money. And I put in the work because I've been producing my shows and all of that. And so he asked me because I've been driven in what I've done. There's never been a question of my loyalty to the brand. Even when he had to take a break, I had kept the brand alive.
That's good.
So
How did you get started on the magazine?
the magazine, so I started with the Jordan as a feature.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened was he had asked for different artists, he'd asked for different models or whatever. And so I had given him different people to interview. And then it got to the point where he had asked me to come on board. And my very first interview was my friend Alicia Townsend, who was also a graduate from Illinois Media School. It was in 2015. And it was so crazy because I didn't know she was going to get the cover. I found out the day before we launched, and I was like, oh my gosh. So she got the cover, and Majority was featured on her in that piece. And it was super dope, but it kind of just gone from there. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that when you're doing anything when it comes to media, is that being persistent is what is going to let you win. If you sit up there, you do it once, and you're like, that's all right, that was cool. You have to be persistent. You have to do it over and over and over again. Otherwise, you're not going to grow.
Exactly. And sometimes it happens. Look like, for instance, for the services, you may come to us and you may be an opportunity. You say, I've been applying all week, right? For sure, it's late when you're applying, right? You may not get a response back after 2 hours application. That's one. That can be one. And so, and then the same thing about you come up and say, hey, I'm looking for the media. Okay, what have you done? What have you been working on, right? Help you cultivate what you're already doing. So don't get discouraged and don't get responses back, or you have to put it in 10,000 applications in the part of the process. Okay, you can have it, but that's why the networking and who you know is important.
Absolutely. It's definitely who you know. Because when you know someone, they're quicker to pull your application.
Mm-hmm.
They're quicker to make that phone call. You know, when people are sitting up there and they're just, they're just kind of like the fly, they're the only person there, it's not as impactful, right? So like if you go into an interview and nobody knows who you are, that's one thing. If you go on an interview and someone says, oh yeah, I know that person. You worked with them? Oh, that's how it works.
Do you have a fashion plan?
I design jewelry. So, yes.
Mm-hmm. I do t-shirts.
Awesome. You do t-shirts? So that's something else. So so you guys know when you guys have a radio show that they have it's video and audio, right? Talk to her about branding. So you can have your logo on your shirt when you're on air. If you have t-shirts, make sure you're wearing your brand. So when you're out at events, when you're here, people know exactly what you're doing.
And then what did it look like for you to patent your logo? What did it look like for you to be able to say your brand?
Oh yeah, definitely have the copyright.
Talk a little bit about that.
Trademark. Yeah, you have to go through the trademark office and all of that. And then for the LLC, you have to go and apply to get your LLC for Illinois, which is not that bad. It's only $150 right now. So it used to be a lot more.
On food this week, right? And $150 investment in your trademark, and you can just have it for your device.
Right.
So how did you get into styling a whole cast?
I literally was chosen to pick one of the main stars, and when I got there, I became jewelry girl.
Oh wow!
And that's exactly how it happened. I was called. They wanted to style one of the stars, and I get there, and they're like, "Okay, so you're the jewelry lady, right?" I'm like, "Oh, I guess so. Let's do it." And it was a blast. It was an absolute blast.
Okay.
What have been some major or minor challenges that you kind of may have ran into or come across going into your field and doing, your branding and everything like that?
Ooh, how much time do we have? I think it depends on what you're talking about. So when it comes to the jewelry, the biggest challenge is that people, when I first started, I was always told, oh, my sister used to do jewelry, my cousin, my whatever, used to do it. So it was always oh yeah, that's nothing major, blah, blah, blah. Jewelry back in the day was mainly like it's something that people that like moms do, use Caucasian moms, house moms, you know, nothing they really took it seriously, and that was a big challenge that I had. Another challenge that I had was funny was that I went to an event and I had one of my cards, and it was one of my Puerto Rican models, and people were like, "Well, why isn't there a black girl on your card?" And I'm like, "What? Why isn't there a black girl on my card if it's a black-owned business?" And I've had black girls on my cards. Right now, I just have a Puerto Rican girl. So the biggest challenge that I had when it comes to this whole situation is people. I'm trying to think how to say this. Because it's tricky. It's trying not to get canceled, but it's true. Look.
It's unavoidable. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it is. People expecting certain things because of who I am. People not expecting me to sound the way that I do, and people claiming that I'm trying to be white has been the biggest problem that I've had. But that voice has now gotten me over 500,000 listeners. So, haha to that. But that's definitely been the biggest challenge because people that look like me are mad because I sound like this, and that's real. That's the real. I've had more pushback from the African American community because of the fact that I speak Spanish, and I didn't perm my hair when I was in school and all that kind of stuff, and because of my hair, I've been in this fight since I was 12. So it's always like, oh yeah, you do sports, right? No, I'm entertainment. I've been an entertainer since I was little. But even I had issues when it came to teachers that got mad because of that. I'm like, oh, coaches couldn't stand me because I don't play ball. So they're like, but you're wasting your height. No, this is not what I do. Like, I'm just not that skilled in that area. It's not a big thing, but to them, it was the end of the world. So that's been the biggest challenge. It is the fact that I don't sound the way that I look. At all. Not at all.
And how has that impacted you business-wise? So, you got pushback culturally, whatever, but as far as the business goes, what types of hurdles are taking on?
I don't think as business-wise, it hasn't been as crazy. It's funny that I've actually gotten more support from Caucasian women than I have Black women, to be quite honest. I've gotten more support from Caucasian women than Black women.
And so there is something to be said for reaching out of what should be your comfort zone.
Yes.
Yes, you're a Black-owned company, but that means you can't work with Caucasian, or you can't work with other cultures.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
And you short yourself there.
You do. You definitely do short yourself that way. When you think about, you know, what you're gonna do in your city, what you're gonna do in your hood, you shorten everything that you're doing. Mm-hmm. You have to think not just nationally but globally.
Yeah.
If you focus on just what's in Chicago, you're not gonna go far. You have to travel. You have to, that is a necessity. In order to be able to thrive in anything that you do, you have to travel.
Not just Iowa or Cali, let's go on to London. As far as internationally,
I have not been able to travel, so what's interesting is that right before COVID hit, I was supposed to go to Canada.
Oh.
And then COVID hit. I will be going to Canada at some point now, because we're going to be working with them on some projects. But yeah, it was crazy because literally, I was like, I'm glad we didn't go because we might have been stuck in Canada.
Yeah.
You know, because we were supposed to come back the week that COVID hit. And the week that we had the lockdown. So I was like, whew, got lucky on that one.
And then you work virtually with anyone who's outside of the
Yep. Yes. So do you guys use StreamYard or anything like that for do you guys broadcast live stream? Yeah. So when you're doing your interviews and all of that, if the people can't be here, you can do them on StreamYard, right? On live stream. So like StreamYard, I say StreamYard because you have up to 6 people for the free piece, but you can have up to 10 people on your panel for like $25 a month, which is not bad. But then also you get all of your branding. So like you can have your logo up there. You can have, whatever you want scrolling down at the bottom. You can have a whole filter up there. Because the biggest thing when it comes to being independent is your branding. That's why you want to make sure you have either virtual business cards, you want to have a logo, and that's why I said hire for t-shirts. Because you want to make sure that people understand who you are. Because you are your brand. You're walking around every day, you are your brand. Why wear someone else's logo all the time and promote them when you can promote yourself? Especially when you're independent and trying to grow. It doesn't make any sense.
All these smartphones, they have a V card. Y'all may not know what that is, like a virtual business card.
That's no.
Hey, you know how to put your phone. Let's put
Yep.
our phones together and it'll shoot it over. All that little technical stuff that these phones do, that half of us maybe don't even get more into. Simple stuff like that. Just investigate the device a little bit. And you're going to find some stuff on the break.
Yes.
It's already there. Literally.
Also, another way to brand yourself is through your hashtags.
Yeah.
So think about your custom hashtag and use it on everything. I created a hashtag called CSOO, which stands for Chicago Supports RO. If you Google that now, you see that not just being used here, it's being used, I think it's been in Australia, Canada, Paris. But I started that because I didn't see a lot of people in Chicago supporting one another. So I was like, what can I do to show support, to show that I appreciate when I see someone else supporting another Chicago talent? And originally it was Chi-Town supporting our own. And my boy P1 was like, that's too long, let's shorten it. And so I shortened it to CSOO. And now that's been a brand for like almost 9 years. If you type it in now, you'd be like, oh, you see it everywhere. Yes.
I just wanted to ask a group question because you spoke a lot about networking, and I know the importance of that. You know the importance of that. So, how many of y'all are working for D-Stone right now? And how many of y'all have your own shows or your own project? Somewhat. Have any of y'all asked D-Stone to be on your project?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a give and take thing, right? Don't put in all the work for somebody else and not take care of yourself in the back end. Stone, can you give me a drop? Whoever you're working with, can you give me a drop? Give and take networking. So another thing that you spoke of was the ability to think beyond your personal scope, right? All the people that we listen to that's shooting up the hood and popping balls in the club, they don't live in the hood, right? So don't think that that's where it stops. Yeah, they get that bag because people in the hood don't buy that album, but they're going right to the suburbs, right?
Yeah. Like one good example, who saw the NWA movie? It's my favorite movie, 2016. What is it called? Straight Outta Compton, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that scene where people were all upset, something on the album, they were all in a hoorah, and then these characters was like, oh, there's something on our music. It's like they bought them. Exactly. Like, so look at the demographics that's buying your music, right? And so now about, like most of the superstars, perfect example. I don't know who Paul was saying, for instance, they had a great montage about Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was in India. He had Bollywood films. Snoop Lion, he's been with the reggae. He is been an all-around personality.
Right.
He just didn't stick with Beware the Dog. I'm not. Yes. Doggy style. He didn't stop there. I know it. But I use that as an example to say versatility is not just future, it's the past. Because Snoop Dogg, he's been in the game a long time. And he got
The reason I bring that up is because I present students with so many opportunities, but they're hooked on what I want to be the next hood radio personality, which is fine if that's your end goal. But there's so many other ways you can make money until you get there, right? So don't be so confined to one person and one idea.
Yeah, for instance, I'm just being fully transparent. We had an opportunity a while ago for a graduate. The employer was of European descent. Oh, they rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like their brand of how they would communicate, and that turned away from the opportunity. Great opportunity. Photography. Get into a new zone they hadn't tried out yet. Everybody knows weddings, event celebrations. That's cash. You drop a lot of money, including for your entertainment, including your photography. That is just an example. Don't let the minute details of something that can really be overcome or worked around stop you from moving forward.
I just want to chime in with that.
No, absolutely.
And I set off my soapbox.
That's huge. No, that's huge. Like, take advantage of the opportunities here. I can't stress that enough. Because the thing is that when you don't take advantage of it, there's no guarantee that they're going to get presented to somebody else. When you, and that's the thing too, when you get a job when you get a connection from here, please make sure you fulfill that commitment. Because when you don't, it shuts the door on the next person.
Yes. Say that again.
I cannot stress, I've heard that so many times. That this company hired this person and they didn't come to work after they got hired. After they said how much they wanted the job. They didn't take it seriously.
Which it happens all the time, by the way. I know you guys don't know exactly what we do all day, but that is a majority is picking up the pieces behind somebody else. And that's not an opportunity that one of you could have.
That's okay.
So please do not be that grad. Do not be better than some of your select predecessors. And honestly, I get the vibe and shout that they are very motivated, very focused. I'm sitting on a lot of these similar groups in these events, which is exactly where you should be, right? This is why you're here. Thank you. We appreciate it.
I mean, it's important. It's very, very important because when you close that door for someone else, you don't know how much you could have changed their life.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention it makes the school look bad. What you want is when people here at Illinois Media School, you want them to be like, oh, okay, great. I know that they're skilled. I know that they're ready. I know that they're punctual. When you leave this building, you still represent this building. Every time, whether you are currently a student or you are an alumni. Because the minute you bring it up, people are going to ask, what is that? And you not going to work, especially with the client, that can mess up money for the school as well. Like, there are so many things you have to think about. Because you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting the entire brand. And that's what don't think about. And I know it's kind of crazy because, you think you might not have enough time when you're here to finish your projects. But you do. But you can't just be here during school and think everything's going to get done, because it's not. You have to be here before class, after class, on the days there is no class. That's how you get a quality project. And that's what's going to make people think, oh, they're doing something. Let me give them an opportunity. Because you never know. Because the school does hire alumni as well. So if you're messing things up when you're here, why do they want to give you a job? Everything goes back to just following the golden rule. You wouldn't want to hire somebody that just, didn't come on time, didn't do the work, didn't care about what was going on. Would you?
No.
So how can you expect someone else to want to hire you? Are there any more questions? If not, then yes.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
In starting the internet, it's not like with the regular radio station, traditional.
Correct.
So you wouldn't need to sign any, do any FCC paperwork or anything?
With Blog Talk, you do not. Correct. So with Blog Talk, Blog Talk Radio has been around, I want to say 20 years now? Probably a little longer. But Blog Talk Radio, specifically, you pay a monthly fee, and then you're able to do 2 to 3 hours, I want to say per day. You can figure out what shows, when you're going to do your shows, all of that. But what I would say is, there are a lot of shows that are on right now. Tune into those shows. Call in. Check out, see their vibe. So you can kind of get an idea of, the best way to flow. But yeah, that's the one thing you don't have to worry about. Blog Talk is FCC regular.
Next Legacy.